Up next, we are going to hear from Rob Hassing, how to maintain over 20 monitoring appliances. Rob started using Nagios back in 2005, and his current implementation includes 25 Nagios servers. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Rob.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Rob Hassing. I work as an IT consultant for Deltics. Deltics is a system integrator based in the Netherlands. We do also maintain a lot of networks and infrastructures for different companies. So we've got over 20 monitoring servers located at our customer premises. And I'm here to tell you about how we maintain these Nagios servers. Quickly go over the agenda. First, a little bit of history, how we got started with our monitoring systems and what we improved in the years. How do the installation, a little bit of look and feel. How do we do administration of the service? What do we do for alerting, the maintenance of the servers? What checks can we use, do we use? A conclusion, and then there's time for questions. We put up some sort of appliance. It's based on Nagios, of course. We also use Nagvis, MediaWiki for some other stuff. I'll tell about it later. And we're using well, different third-party tooling for our appliance. When I started the company 5 years ago, there was some sort of network, monitoring appliance. Everything was installed in opt monitoring using compiled sources. So no way to upgrade it, no way to maintain. It's really hard. So it was kind of static there, and we couldn't do much with it, just monitoring. So when I started, I created version 2 using the usual paths and using pre-compiled RPM packages. So we created our own RPMs, also for some other stuff than just the real programs. But yeah, we created a repository, and everything was upgradable using Yum because it was based on CentOS. We also started using more SNAP monitoring and SNAP TT for traps, as the trap translator. And we did more with SMS text alerting. Last year I went to the conference and learned a lot. So I came back and thought, well, we need a new version, which is now version 3 of our monitoring appliance. And it's based on Nagios 4. We use the latest Nagios QL for configuration, so the backend is all Nagios QL. We got ourselves a new front end using Thrug for many reasons. It's really good. I really love Thrug as a front end. Tried to use SaltStack, but got stuck to Salt SSH for global configuration. And we introduced user accounts for all engineers. In the beginning, everybody logged in Nagios as admin, so every acknowledgement was done by admin, which is not really handy. And started to use SFlow for bandwidth monitoring and RD tool for graphing. The installation, our monitoring appliance is based on CentOS 6.5. Didn't start using 7 yet because of there's no 32-bit version yet available. Don't know if it's going to be, but 6.5 is okay for us. We're using some extra repositories from EPEL and our own. It's called Deltics, or either Better Graphics, which was the first name of our company. We're using the standard packages for Thrug, RD tool, PHPMyAdmin, MediaWiki, etc. We adjusted and have our own RPM files for Nagios, Nagvis. We've got a third-party RPM, which contains some sort of SQL data, different kinds of things we think is needed in our system. Nagios QL, we created our own RPM, and we've got one called Mona BG. Mona is what we call our monitoring appliance. And we've got our own RPM with the plugins we created ourselves. And I'm compiling the latest Nagios plugins as well for our repository. And the last one, SMS Tools 3, which is used for text messaging. We're using text messaging for notifications. The installation will be done in our office using Pixie Boot for the initial installation. I created a kickstart file, so we have the same configuration, same partitions, everything the same for every server we put out there. And we're using the RPM dependencies in one of our RPMs to install all the package needed. So if I see that we need more RPMs, I'll put it in the Mona BG and it will be installed as well for every new installation. For the rest, it's using the default CentOS and EPEL for most of the packages installed. And of course, our own repository for our created packages. I'm not sure if it's really visible, but this is where I did an upgrade for Nagios, and you can see it at the end. The repositories are our own. It says Better Graphics, which was the name of our company a couple of years ago. It has changed, but it's still the same company. But the repository is still called Better Graphics. This is the look and feel. It's almost standard Thrug, but we only created a little menu at the bottom for some extra features we included in our system. So we've got these 25 servers now, and they all look the same. So if an engineer logs into a Nagios server, it looks like this. But the only thing, of course, is different is the number of hosts and the kind of hosts. The extra additional tools we are using, as I said, MediaWiki. We put in some customer information in there for the on-call engineers to easily look up the configurations or documentations of this customer. Use Nagios QL for web-based configuration, so as a backend. PHPMyAdmin is installed just in case we need to do something low-level on the MySQL database. Downloads is an extra link we've created just to put in some firmware or maybe some configuration files which can be used by the customer or by ourselves. It might come in handy sometimes. And we're using Nagios Graph for performance output, so for the graphics and for trend monitoring. Nagvis for the graphical overview, so it's installed in our latest version as well, and starting to use it, really good. And we still have a link to Nagios to get the default web page, so for if somebody would prefer the default web page instead of Thrug. This is a very simple overview how the network is set up. It's really simple. We've got one central server, and our engineers are divided in 3 different pools. We've got pool 1 for the networking engineers, pool 2 for Microsoft and storage engineers, and pool 3 for Unix Oracle engineers. And they all have their own customers they have to maintain or have their on-call duty for. And the central server is being used for pushing out stuff to all the customer premises servers, so called customer servers over here. And well, that's a little bit how it looks. And of course, it's all firewalled, and we've got side-to-side VPNs from our premises to all the customers, but there's no way the customer can connect back to us, so it's one-way traffic only, except for established traffic, of course. For the administration, in our NOC we have an overview using Mentos. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's an overview of all our systems. I've just faded out the names of the customers for privacy reasons. But as you can see, it's got all numbers of hosts, and there are some criticals, some warnings. And our NOC can then, during the day, respond to this screen as well. So it's just an overview of what's going on at our customers. The bottom three are a bit more red. These are new customers, just installed. So it's they're still working on it. So that's why it's a bit more criticals over there. So the total of numbers is 2,447 hosts we are monitoring, with 7,903 service checks and 24 Nagios installations. And we just added one extra Nagios server last week, so it's 25 now, a bit more hosts, but it's still growing. Yeah, we started using the multiple user accounts, as I explained earlier. Of course, you can have as many as you like. Currently, we're using approximately 25 user accounts. So every engineer's got his own account to log in, do the acknowledgements, and add downtimes, stuff like that. And we had to do something with password recovery, or setting the password for all these engineers, because it's widespread, and it's not easy to get configurations or to get password data from a central system. We have to spread it. So I've created a web page to do so. So somebody can choose their name and fill in a password, and it will change the password on every single server. It's just a little script we're using. This is just a script called by the web page. So what it does is doing a salt SSH and updating the HT password file in the Nagios directory, and that's used by Thrug as well and by Nachtwish. So that's the way we do central user management. And it will send then out an email to the engineer telling this is your new password, so they can keep track of it. Notifications we are using. We've got our on-call duty engineers who receive SMS text alerting for problems in the customer they're on call for. So we've created a text alerting system, and for backup there's also an email sent via a corporate Google Apps account, just in case the SMS daemon is not working, or if anything goes wrong with that, which is possible. The text alerting, Nagios sends out a notification. The notification then goes to a Perl script and will be put in a MySQL database for archiving, and also for checking if it's not flooding. You can keep track of when the last SMS was sent, and you can put in the Perl script, well, wait at least 60 seconds for sending out new SMS messages. So it checks for flooding. It's still in Dutch, I'm sorry about that. But if it's flooding, then it says do nothing. Otherwise, send it to the send SMS daemon, and it will go then to the SMS daemon, will be sent, and will be checked if it's sent. If it's not sent out, then it will go to a failed directory and will be tried a couple of times again, and until it's succeeded. So that's the way we use our text messaging alerting. We can also do acknowledgements via SMS. So the daemon is checking for incoming text messages, If there's an incoming text message, it will also be put in MySQL for archiving and for logging, and then it will via cron will check if there's anything in this MySQL database, and will do something with it. Depends on what they put in. If you put ACK or whatever disable, you can put different things in. That's the way we can do acknowledgements via SMS. Every week the on-call engineer changes, which is quite hard to change over 25 systems then, but divided by 3 pools. We've got 3 web pages, and the thing is we need to change the context.cfg, which is the normal place where the phone number and email address would be in. But as we use NagiSQL as a backend, we also need to alter the MySQL database. So that made it a bit harder to do so. So we're using SSH and Salt SSH again for changing all this. So we've created a very simple web page. Who's on duty? You can pick the name, click on send, and it will start a script again. The script will check the old number and will change the number in MySQL. We'll change it in the context.cfg, move the original context.cfg just for backup reasons, and move the new one to the original one. And change owners again, because it's otherwise can be used. And then we restart Nagios using the command file. After that, there will be a text message sent to the new engineer, and we're using SSH to call a script on the remote server. And this script we're using normal SSH, and it's not really necessary to use Salt SSH, as we just want to have a few servers of the 25, because there are 3 different pools, so there are 3 different web pages and 3 different scripts which do approximately the same. Then the new on-call engineer will get an email and a text message, so he knows he's on duty the next week. What happens then? Central server, changing contacts, altering the MySQL, restart Nagios, start scripts on the remote servers. On the remote servers also change it, alter it, restart, and send out the text message. The maintenance of all these servers is done via Yum repositories. As I already said, we're using the standard repository for standard updates, and we're using our own repository for our own created files. For configuration changes, like you see, we use Salt SSH to do a sudo yum min-yes update. So every system will do their updates. We test it first, of course, on one system, and then do it globally on all the systems. And after that is finished, then all the normal updates are in place. For configuration changes, if we have a new user, we have to add them to the CGI.cfg. So what can be done is using our repository to get the file. So we change to etc Nagios, move CGI.cfg to another file, then get it from our repository, change owner, and change mod for CGI.cfg, and it's changed on all the servers. So that's how we do configuration changes in 25 servers. This output can be sent to a log file, and the log file can be checked if there's any problems with any of the servers. So new checks are installed by RPM packages. So if we create a new check, we just update our RPM and do the yum update again, and the yum update then will spread it to every server. Even though we're not using every check on every server, we still want to keep them the same. So if, for example, we create a check for checking MSM wireless access points, we also push it to all the servers where there's no wireless installed at all, just to make sure every system will be the same. So yeah, after that we have to manually still configure them in Nagios QL. Still working on that to automate that. Backup, also quite important. We want to do backup for all our servers. So we created a bash script which will zip all the Nagios log files and the Nagios graph RRD files, just to make sure we've got our archives and our history. Then we use Cadaver for a WebDAV system, and then the Cadaver configuration will be the setup how to connect to our server, our central server. This is done via the internet. So it's but as you can see, we've got some SQL files we want to back up, and we've got the log files and the RRD files. So if a system goes down, we can easily set up with the Pixie boot server installed in our premises and the configuration files at our premises. We can install a new server in like 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, and get it back to the customer with even the archive data as well. The checks we are using, as we have a lot of different customers and we don't want to put too much third-party software on the servers of the customer, we are checking everything via SNMP or WMI. So we cannot, I think we cannot install an RPE or any of the other third-party checks for remote checking. As we just maintain and we're maintaining their environment, so it's not possible for us to install it everywhere. And to keep it all the same for all the customers, we choose to do everything via SNMP. So the standard checks, ping, CPU, memory, disk. The last 3 are of course only done by SNMP. We do some Microsoft checks for Citrix, MS SQL, Exchange, and it's done by either SNMP or WMI. Of course, we've got some protocol checks. The standard TCP checks, is the server still listening on this port? And some protocol checks like IMAP, SMTP, HTTP, whatever is needed. The process checks will be done as well on Microsoft servers using SNMP. So we wrote our own checks for that. For NetApp, we do an overall health check, volume and LUN checks, and a snap mirror lag time check to see if the snap mirror lag time is not too high. And I recently wrote an HP MSM wireless check. We had some customers with HP MSM access points, and out of the 300 access points, there were suddenly 200 access points out of sync, which we didn't notice because you won't log into the web interface and see if it's if they're all still in sync. And there were 200 out of sync. I've got no idea why. So I wrote a check to check if they're all still in sync, and if not, I'm getting alerted directly. So I know if something changes. It's easier to find it like, well, something has changed today, than say, well, in the last 3 months something might have changed. And so that's the reason why we wrote this check as well. And I'll put it up to Nagios Exchange if somebody would need it. It will be there soon. Okay, Conclusion, we still continue to develop on our Nagios monitoring appliance. As of now, we are using Nagios 4, at the moment 408, so if 409 will be released, it will be put up immediately as soon as we can build the RPM, and then we will distribute it. So always the latest releases will be used. New features can be easily built in because we're using RPMs, and RPMs can be used to spread out extra service checks or build in extra software. For example, Nachtvis was not part of the deal in the beginning when I started on version 3, but it was a feature request from some of my colleagues. They wanted it, so we put it up there and installing it now as well. And customer requests can be built in, so for extra checks, but also extra features can be built in. One of the next steps will be an easier way of deploying the new checks. As I said, we can distribute the check, but then it's still not in Nagios QL for direct use. So we still need to then add an extra command check to be able to use it. So that's something I would like to change in the near future. And what I would like to do is make a collection. We had this overview for all the customers, but I want to just make an overview for the pool. So if pool 1, which are just the networking customers, should be in one overview, and that's for the 3 different pools. So we'd be really happy if somebody had ideas about that. So, first I want to thank you all for joining me, listening to me, and it's highly appreciated. I hope there are any questions.
Are you doing anything for versioning of the configuration files that you're doing through the wget there?
No, not at this moment. No, we're just using the our repository to put in the CGI.cfg, for example, and we don't use versioning for that. No, it's a good idea though.
Do you have anything in place for like a rollback procedure if something horribly goes wrong, or is it just the kind of restore of the of your last backup?
That can be done, but I think the upgrades we are doing are mainly based on RPMs, which are checked before deploying. So, and the other thing is then maybe a config file can mess up things, of course, but then it's just installing a new config file via SSH, salt SSH, which is not so much of a deal then. So really breakdown of a system actually never happens.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyone else with any questions?
Eric?
So, I noticed that you're bundling together a lot of add-ons.
I'm sorry, I think the microphone's off.
Hello.
I don't hear it.
So, I'll just talk loudly then.
Okay.
I see you're bundling together like a lot of add-ons on top of Nagios to create like a solution, kind of. Are there any specific ones that you especially like? And are there some that you wish someone would have done something better?
Well, I like Nagios QL. It's being used over 5 years now in our company. People are known how to use it, and it's quite good. The Media Wiki I like as well because it's got a lot of plugins. And what I've done for some of our customers is even get SNMP data out of the switches, put it directly in this Media Wiki. So if you log in, you don't have to log into all the switches because we use port labels for our access points. We've got one customer with well, multiple customers with over 300 access points, and the access point name would be the port label of the switch. So if you log into Media Wiki and you see the overview of the switch, you also see the port names. So you can very easily see which access point is on which port. And yeah, I use, of course, parent-child relations in Nagios, so I can see on which switch it is. I click on MediaWiki, go to this switch, see on which port it is, and I started to write a power off, power on for the PoE even. So there's a little button next to the MediaWiki thing, and you can just click on it, and it will, via SNP, power off the PoE on this port and power it on again, because that's what 80% of our access point problems will be, just power off, power on, and they will be back online. So MediaWiki is very nice to use for that purposes. Yeah, and the rest are Nachtvis is pretty new to us, but for one customer we're doing some amazing things with that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That sounds very clever.
Thank you.
So I'll try to keep it brief, but I have some ideas, and I'm just curious if these are things you thought of and didn't choose to use, or maybe they're things you haven't thought of. So the first, you had a slide that showed all of your sort of your overview with all the different services and everything.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned something later that I can't remember what it is, but it made me wonder if you'd looked into Nagios Fusion at all for doing the overview.
Not yet. No.
Okay.
No.
It might be something
I've
worthwhile.
seen it yesterday again. And I thought, oh yeah, that's something I wanted to look at, but
Okay.
haven't done yet.
The other two things, with all of the copying and everything that you're doing and downloading configuration files and that, have you looked at perhaps rsync to keep a central repository that you push out to the individual machines, as opposed to telling the other machines to go get something from a repository?
No, I haven't thought about it. It's a
Okay.
very neat. Yeah.
Last thing,
Keep going.
I have a question about your SMS. Is that a dedicated hardware gateway device?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's every single server which needs to be able to send out SMS messages as its own hardware device.
Okay, that's the next question I was going to ask then. So
Yeah, and this hardware device is monitored by the central Nagios, so not by the Nagios on site, because it's very hard to send out an SMS if the SMS hardware is not functioning.
Right.
I had that. It's one of my bloopers for your.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions for Rob? Any comments or?
So I noticed you had 24 instances and 25 users. Are your customers never curious about what's being monitored?
For the customers, we have a read-only view account, and it's only one account for a customer. The customer is not able to put everything of something in downtime or do anything on the Nagios system. The Nagios system is our system. We are using it for our on-call engineers. So it's for the customer to view, but not to really use it. They can have an overview, they can have a dashboard, they can have whatever they want, but just to view.
And are they happy with that?
Yeah. Yeah, we do the maintenance and we do the support 24/7 for them. And yeah, we are, well, it's just part of the deal. It's part of our support contract to have a Nagios server installed. So we're just actually asking for one view of space in their racks and internet feed and stuff like that.
Sounds like you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with any questions or comments?
In your central Nagios instance, do you keep a history of all the checks in children Nagios? If you do, how do you send service check data from your customer Nagios instances to the central?
I'm sorry, I don't get it completely.
You have a central Nagios instance.
Yes.
And does it have all the same checks that your customer Nagios instances?
No. The central one has just a check for does the remote host exist, and does the SMS daemon still function correctly?
Okay, so all the history data is only in customer instances.
Yeah, they're all in the customer instance, but are backuped every day via the backup script. So and then sent back to the central server.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any last questions? Rob, would you like to add anything else? Or?
No, just thank you everybody for listening to me and being here.
Excellent. Rob
Thank you.
Hassings, everyone. Thank you.